Yo, what up, everybody? This is your boy Sharaf again. Once again, I'm back with Disruptive Investing channel, a channel focusing on investing in disruptive growth technologies. I'll try to bring you my research to help you make your own sound investing decisions, but please do note that I'm not a financial advisor, and this video is only for entertainment purposes. So please do your own research as well. In this video, I'll be discussing four groundbreaking technologies that are about to disrupt existing businesses and bring about a new paradigm shift in not only the industry, but also in our everyday lives as well. So before we get into listing and discussing major disruptive technologies, first we need to understand what accounts for a disruptive technology and what is a disruptive technology. So in business theory, a disruptive innovation is an innovation that creates a new market and value network that eventually displaces established market-leading firms and products. The emphasis here is the potential to replace existing products and technologies and not necessarily the most high-tech or the most sophisticated technology. The differentiation here is very important because sometimes a product or design can be very sophisticated with a superior technology, but it does not have the competitive edge to replace an existing technology which might not be as sophisticated. For example, if you look at the aviation industry in the early 2000s, the British-French made Concorde aircraft was a high-tech technological marvel that brought about for the first time supersonic travel to civil aviation. But it wasn't a disruptive technology, since the technological superiority of the aircraft did not match with the economic realities of the time, and hence it wasn't able to replace slower aircraft which were more fuel efficient. Well, now you must be asking yourself why invest in disruptive technologies and companies. Well, the answer to this is that modern technology is evolving at an unprecedented pace, enabling faster change and progress across businesses. From artificial intelligence to robotics to Internet of Things, organizations are now increasingly capitalizing on these emerging technologies to remain competitive in this market. It is therefore really important to identify these organizations and industries where such disruptive changes are taking place, as these are the companies which will offer you the greatest return on investment. And worse even, failure to identify these cutting edge technologies and disruptive companies could also lead you to keep investing in legacy companies which aren't nimble enough to adapt to new market demand and can change and thus end up failing. There are many examples of such companies which were once market leaders but then got disrupted out of existence. Some examples of such companies include BlackBerry, which missed out on the smartphone revolution, or take example of Blockbuster, which was made obsolete by the advent of new streaming giant in Netflix. So if you fail to recognize new changes that were happening and kept your faith in these old dinosaurs, you would have either missed out on huge returns or worse, you would have lost a lot of money. Well, hindsight is 2020 and whatever happened in the past is kind of irrelevant to today's investor, but we can still learn from the past, and in this video, I will try to explore some disruptive technologies and industries which has the potential for huge growth and can potentially offer you great returns as well. Well, the very first disruptive technology that I want to discuss today is the field of artificial intelligence. This, to most viewers, would feel the most familiar and the obvious one. Yet it can't be denied that this is also the most powerful and the most disruptive technology to come about throughout the history of human civilization, with its application and influence now extending to almost every single industry and touching every facet of life. It is sort of a revolution that is taking place in front of our eyes, which I feel is comparable or even of higher significance than industrial revolution and renaissance, with new AI algorithms now automating tasks which were previously thought of as impossible. And I firmly believe that this is just the beginning of the revolution and the real revolution is still to come. We are already seeing the impact of AI firsthand on our web searches, our social media, our emails, etc. However, soon we will also see the impact of AI extend to non-traditional industries and roles such as self-driving cars, banking, transportation, real estate, and even customer service and service industries. The reality of the situation is that more and more jobs will be automated. In fact, according to an article on Forbes, the data showed that as many as 73 million jobs could be lost in the US alone due to automation and AI, whereas in China, which relies on its cheap manufacturing and labor, the figures are much worse, with as many as 236 million jobs to be lost by 2030 due to AI alone. We may not be able to protect our own jobs from AI and automation, but we can invest in companies that are poised to benefit the most from this AI revolution and hence make money out of it. In today's market, investing in artificial intelligence is actually pretty easy as all major big tech companies such as Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, etc. are leaders in artificial intelligence and are on the cutting edge of the AI research with wide variety of AI applications in their own products. However, if I had to pick one AI focused stock to invest in, that would be Nvidia. Nvidia is a no-brainer as the best AI stock to buy, as the high-end chip maker is the go-to provider of specialized semiconductor that power some of the most exciting areas of research in AI, from high-performance gaming to autonomous vehicles. In terms of valuation, Nvidia is trading a little rich as of now, so I would suggest to wait a little bit for a better entry price point if you aren't already invested in the stock as of now. Another high risk, high reward option to consider is Palantir, which has the potential to break out and render influence on AI industry similar to that of Tesla on EV market. Palantir estimates that its total addressable market, or TAM, is roughly $119 billion, and some analysts project revenue to reach $9 billion by 2026, which represents an annual revenue growth rate of 30% from 2021 all the way to 2025. The second disruptive technology that I want to talk about are the electric vehicles. Again, similar to AI, this industry would also seem very familiar to most viewers as the shift to electric vehicles is happening right in front of our eyes, with companies like Tesla and Volkswagen taking the lead, while companies like NIO and BYD Auto are representing the rise of new automotive giants in the EV space in China. Although a generational shift is taking place from ICE vehicles to EV, but the current EV market share of all automobile around the world is still pretty low. As you can see from the chart, the global market share of EV is still less than 1% in the countries where EVs have been introduced. This does not even take into account regions of the world where EVs have yet to make an entrance, such as Indian subcontinent, Southeast Asia, or Africa. Therefore, the main takeaway from all this is that the current shift to EVs are just the tip of the iceberg in the larger EV revolution, and it is projected that by 2030, the global market share of EVs would account for almost 30% of the entire light passenger vehicles, which is a great potential for investors to tap into and make a lot of money. In monetary terms, the entire EV market would be worth $2.5 trillion by 2027, which represents a compound annual growth rate of 33%. And as a growth investor, you definitely would not want to miss out on such massive potential returns that can result from such excessive growth. Investing in companies manufacturing the EV has been quite the fad lately, led by the EV poster child, Tesla itself. High amount of interest from investors in this space has resulted in FOMO by many investors, which has driven the valuation of companies like Tesla and Lucid Motors, and very recently Rivian, to record high levels. Therefore, I would not suggest investing in Tesla or any other EV manufacturing companies at these record high levels, but if there's a decent pullback in the stock price of Tesla, let's say by 15 to 20%, then you really can't go wrong with Tesla, especially if you're thinking of holding long term. Personally, I prefer NIO over Tesla as the valuation is much more reasonable compared to Tesla. I feel like NIO will outperform Tesla in the huge Chinese market and will also provide stiff competition to Tesla and other local EV manufacturers once NIO gets introduced into the European and North American market. Lastly, purely based on valuation, I would also suggest looking into another EV manufacturer and Polestar, which will be going public through SPAC merger via a shell company named Gores Guggenheim, ticker symbol GGPI. However, since this is a new company, please do your due diligence and research before investing your money. Next disruptive market that we will be looking into is the world of EV batteries. This current growth rate projected for EVs are based on existing EV and battery technologies. However, we know that the existing battery technology, even with great advances in recent years, remains the biggest bottleneck and the limiting factor in transitioning completely from the internal combustion engines to EVs. Electric vehicles have been powered by lithium-ion batteries for years, which are very similar to the ones that we use in our laptops, in our cell phone, and in other consumer electronics. Traditional lithium-ion batteries are made up of liquid electrolyte, which makes them very heavy and susceptible to instability at higher temperature. Because each individual battery pack can't generate all that much energy on its own, several have to be linked together in series, which further adds to their weight. The cost of engineering, manufacturing, and installing battery packs makes a significant portion of the overall cost of an electric vehicle, as well as physically occupies significant amount of space in the car. To counter this limitation of EV batteries, a quiet disruption is in the process of taking place within the EV industry itself, where companies are now researching new solid-state batteries, which intends to replace the heavy liquid electrolyte inside the lithium-ion batteries. The use of solid electrolyte should save space and increase the battery capacity by somewhere between 2 to 10 times the current capacity of conventional batteries. Their construction also means that they don't need all of the monitoring, control, and cooling systems of a lithium-ion battery to properly function. And more importantly, they can have much higher energy density which means they can have much greater range with much quicker charge, thereby addressing the range anxiety commonly experienced by EV users as of now. In the space of solid power batteries, one name that easily stands out is QuantumScape, and I am also invested in this company and a firm long-term believer. QuantumScape claim that their version of solid-state battery can charge up to 80% of the capacity in just 15 minutes. It also retains more than 80% of its capacity after 800 charging cycles. It is non-combustible, it has a volumetric energy density of more than 1000 watt-hour per liter at the cell level, which is nearly the double the energy density of top-shelf commercial lithium-ion cells. The higher energy density of QuantumScape's solid power cells would translate to greater range in electric vehicles, potentially a 50 to 80% improvement versus today's leading electric vehicle battery pack. Therefore, a vehicle that gets 200 miles of range with conventional battery pack could see between 300 to 400 miles of range with QuantumScape's battery, which is a very significant improvement. The last area of disruption that I want to address today is the field of virtual reality. The application of virtual reality today are immense and exist within many industries and enterprises. The very first application that comes to mind with virtual reality is that of gaming and entertainment. Since 2010s, a new generation of computer games have been introduced with virtual reality technology that gives players a truly immersive first-person perspective of gaming action. Participants both experience and influence the game environment through a variety of VR gaming devices and accessories, including VR headsets, sensor-equipped gloves, hand controllers, and many more. Beyond the gaming industry, the modern 21st century work environment now includes new norms such as remote working, digital twin, paperless environments, and hand-free work, etc., all of which should further encourage new innovations in virtual reality, as well as facilitates new application and adaptation of virtual reality. Some of these are already taking place in industries such as education, retail, and healthcare. Retail giant Walmart is already turning to virtual reality to provide better enterprise training for their staff. Walmart has purchased over 30,000 VR headsets to provide over 1 million employees access to virtual training. The company is currently using VR to train staff to use new equipment. Similarly, healthcare is another industry which is utilizing virtual reality applications to become more cost effective and efficient. At the University of British Columbia in Canada, medical students are now receiving training in how to perform orthopedic surgery in a VR environment, which is way more effective as it eliminates the bottleneck of having to view procedures performed on live patients. The future of virtual reality is very bright and is expected to see massive growth both in the number of hardware sets sold as well as new software applications that are currently being developed. For the VR hardware alone, the number of global virtual reality devices shipment was around 13.48 million units in 2020, and it is expected to reach a volume of 112 million units by 2026, registering a compound annual growth rate of 33.85% over the forecasted period. In terms of dollar value, according to a report published by Fortune Business, total market size of VR was around $4.2 billion in 2020, which increased to $6.3 billion in 2021. This market share is projected to grow from $6.3 billion in 2021 to $84 billion in 2028, representing a compound annual growth rate of 44.8%. Again, this compound annual growth rate rivals the growth of both electric vehicle as well as artificial intelligence. But unlike EVs, the hype has not caught up yet, so there is still great opportunity to get in early and invest in the VR companies and thus make huge amount of money. So which company should you invest in the field of virtual reality? Well, to me, this is a pretty straightforward one. If I have to invest in virtual reality, it has to be Facebook, without a doubt. This is because in 2014, Facebook acquired Oculus, which made Facebook the leader in the virtual handset market today. A June report from the research firm IDC noted that Oculus was single-handedly driving growth in the global VR handset market. It is sort of a flywheel effect that compounds on itself, and that will result in Facebook securing a stronghold in the industry for years to come. Also, other companies that you can consider in the VR market are the tech giants of Apple, Microsoft, Google, who are forging their own path in the VR space, especially if these companies align more favorably with your own existing investment strategies and criteria, then without a doubt, you can also go for either one of these big tech giants. So with that concludes the part one of the video, and I hope this gave you some ideas and some areas of disruptive technologies where you can invest your money in. I will try to follow up with a part two of this video as I believe there are many more other disruptive industries where revolutionary disruptions and innovations are taking place. But please, in the meantime, if you can hit the like button, comment on the video, and subscribe to the channel, that will be greatly appreciated, and it will also encourage me to keep making more videos. With that being said, good luck with your own investing out there, and I hope to see you in my next video. Peace.